So recently we had the Northeast HamXposition. Flea market was wonderful. You know, you get to walk around and look at all the cool ham gadgets and radios, rigs, whatever. I'm always on the lookout for the unusual. I'm always looking for the oddball item. And of course, being able to explore such an item is a lot of fun. And I happened to pick this thing up. And you can see with the short that I did last week that I asked people to guess what they thought this box might be. Well, I got some interesting results. I did a little survey to see what people thought this box might be. First of all, let me show it off to you. Here's the front of the box. Okay, look carefully at the front. And here is the rear of the box. Let's look at the rear. Now you can't see inside, but there appears to be 3 tubes inside, okay? And I see a crystal in there as well. Okay, but you didn't know that. And I even occulted the manufacturer. And the manufacturer is P&H Electronics of Lafayette, Indiana. Okay? I didn't want to give that away because the guesses wouldn't have been as interesting. So here are the guesses. One person said it was a power supply. One said it was a TR switch. 3 people thought it was a converter. One person thought it was a linear amplifier. One person thought it was an antenna tuner or some type of automatic tuner. 5 people thought it was a transverter. One person thought it was a preamp. One person thought it was a preselector. And then one person thought it was a Q multiplier. So I really don't know what it is, and we're going to do a defrocking of the device and do a little research and find out exactly what this device is in this video. Now, that was a lot of fun. That Hamfest was a lot of fun, by the way. And there was a particularly interesting program on spy sets. I know some of you are interested in the World War II and the Cold War spy sets, and there was a beautiful presentation by Tom and Mr. Mike. That's why I have this paraset up here. I wanted to show you guys that these are the types of items that were shown at that wonderful session during the HamXposition. And as you can see, I'm on my way to building a second paraset. Here's some parts to build a second one coming up pretty soon.
P&H Electronics Incorporated, 424 Columbia Street, Lafayette, Indiana, were builders of fine electronic equipment, according to their ads. Really, they just built ham radio equipment, mostly for the desktop. In 1956, Bob Peck, W9MOW, and Bob Walgreen formed P&H Electronics, which built and marketed a line of linear amplifiers and accessory equipment. Their 80 through 10 meter 400 watt PEP tabletop linear amp, the LA400B, used 4 modified 1625s and 2 866 rectifiers. Basically, they were using surplus tubes to build an early linear amplifier on the cheap. It was also sold in kit form. It was a classic surplus tube wonder. P&H was located on the second floor of a building in the 400 block on the south side of South Street. Bob Peck also had a TV sales and service shop. P&H was listed as a Bendix Avionics service center as well. Here is their 80 through 10 meter mobile amplifier, outfitted with 6 12 JB6 sweep tubes inside. Pretty classy looking. Some of their gear looks a lot like Central Electronics gear, like this AFC2 audio compression amplifier, which is an excellent design, including 2 inverse feedback circuits.
So one way you can tell something's really old is all the hardware is regular slotted blade. This item is rare. I tried to look it up. And when we're doing an unveiling, you know, it's good to know what you're looking at. First of all, I can just see that it's marked Model 600A. Model 600A. And looking that up, there are no pictures of this device on the internet. I'm going to say that again. This thing's rare enough that there's no pictures. There was a more popular model that was a compressor system, some type of speech processor. But these were fairly rare. P&H Electronics in Lafayette, Indiana, they made a lot of items, a lot of, I call them adjuncts. That is items that go into your ham station that aren't your main transceiver or antenna tuner, but kind of represent things that you put into your system to make operation on the bands easier. So, or it gives you a new band or maybe some amplification. They made some low-cost, both mobile and tabletop linears that were quite popular, and kits as well. So P&H Electronics of Lafayette, Indiana made this, I'm going to call it Transverter. That's what they call the 600A. It's a transverter, but there's no pictures. So I'll take some good photos of this thing and hopefully doctor up the picture in Photoshop enough so that we have a good example of what this thing actually looked like. So let's take the top off. It was difficult to find any information on this device on the internet. Also the serial number. Serial number 344 with its own label. There might not have been any more than 500 of these things built total, making them quite a rare item. So I am taking the screws out of the top. We love these reveal videos, right? We're revealing what this strange device could be. These are just little short self-tapping metal screws. So far, so good. Okay, and there comes the top. Right off, no problem. So what do we reveal under the hood? It looks like we have a OA2 voltage regulator. We have here's a double tube, could be a 6U8, 6GH8. Wow, there's a popular TV tube. That's a triode and a pentode, both high frequency. And finally, a 6360 RF output tube. So with these types of devices, and what's this? It's an 18 megahertz crystal. 18 megahertz times 3, that's 54 megahertz. That doesn't do anything. 18 megahertz times 2, that's 36 megahertz. 36 megahertz plus 14 megahertz equals 50 megahertz. Got it. This is a 20 meter to 6 meter transverter, right? You double 18, you get to 36. That's your local oscillator. And then you use the pentode section as your converter. And you use this output tube as the transmit power amplifier. So it's a little 6 meter transverter. As you can see, it's got tuning and loading controls. So theoretically, this does both the receiver and the transmitter, and you just hook your transceiver. Your hot water, hot water 20 meter transceiver you got from Heathkit, cheap kit, single sideband transceiver, upper sideband only. You hook that here. And then you hook this to a 6 meter antenna, like a small beam or a ground plane antenna. Presumably there was a power supply that went with it. And now you're on 6 meters. So this also could be used in the car as a 20 meter to 6 meter mobile single sideband transverter. Okay, let's look under the hood. Let's see what's on the bottom. This is exciting because this is a new device for the internet. There's almost no information at all on this device. And it will be interesting to fire it up. We'll use a 20 meter transceiver, and we'll see if we can actually get power out on 6 meters. That'll be an interesting video. That'll have to come a little later, however. I've got to figure out if the thing works and what kind of power it's going to require and so on. Hard to do without a manual, although apparently there is someone that has a manual. If anyone has a manual, let me know. It would be helpful. Or if anybody has an example of this thing that looks a little bit better, that would be helpful. It's just pretty cool to see it, huh? Who can guess how much I paid for this wonderful box? How much should I pay for this thing in this condition? Appears to be complete. In the comments, give me some idea of how much I paid for this thing. Okay, is this gonna... Oh, there we go. Oh, that's nice. That is really nice. Look at that, huh? And of course, they've got it set up so that the high Q output tank that you see, the 6 meter tank, doubles as the input to the receive converter. So if I had to guess, I would say the triode section of the 6GH6 is the oscillator, and this is the oscillator coil. And one of these represents the input to the amplifier. So, but it looks good. It looks like it has not been played with by ham radio hands. It may well have had some work done, but I don't see it. It's all handmade, by the way. This is definitely made in a factory where people built stuff from scratch. The old days. So there we are. The P&H Electronics of Lafayette, Indiana, 6 meter transverter, 20 meter transceiver in, 6 meter transceive out, presumably at a few watts, maybe 5 watts, or maybe 15 watts PEP if we're talking about sideband.
So at least one site had the nomenclature for the transverter. And it looks like I could buy the documentation from this site. But any help here, like a schematic or a booklet, would be appreciated. Our friends at the Radio Museum do not even list the device under their P&H page. Again, there's very little on this device out there. I'm of course interested in details like what power do you use as the maximum input? I can't imagine that it's any more than a half a watt or maybe 1 watt. And how do they do the actual transmit to receive switching with no relay? Once I get more information, I'll do a follow-up video on the unit.